tonight with us in the live for YouTube, or if you're watching down the line, or if you are audio only on the podcast, whatever it is, we hope that you've been having a good Comic Con, whether it's at Comic Con or whether it's watching from afar. Either way, it is pretty late here Thursday night, around 10:30 our time here, and so it's been a couple busy days, but we did want to try to talk about Thursday. I don't think for Friday we're actually going to be able to record live, is what it's looking like, because we have a lot of stuff at night, and I don't think we'll be getting back to the room till quite late, and then we have to be up really early Saturday. So probably the next one of these will be Saturday night, kind of recapping Friday and Saturday. But that said, let's jump into Thursday. So Thursday we had a little bit, well, we definitely had a later start than a lot of times at Comic Con with traffic and this and that. We didn't end up actually being in line till 8 in the morning for the floor, so it was a much later time than we had hoped. Traffic was particularly bad. There was a lot of logistical challenges at the convention, and this has been well documented. I've seen it all across Twitter, our Facebook group, everywhere, people complaining about, and I know I myself, I ran into them like locking doors and unlocking doors and saying you have to go this way. So definitely a lot of rust was shown today, and a lot of muscle memory lost, and hopefully it gets fixed throughout the weekend. The floor opened about 15 minutes later than it would have in 2019, most likely, things like that. So we kind of expected that, I think, coming to the con, that, you know, a lot of different people having been lost over the pandemic, changed jobs, you know, time in between. But I know there was quite a bit of frustration on those things, so we'll see how that rolls out Friday. But that also kind of threw kinks into our plan in the morning.
Yeah, it was. We are fortunate that we had parking at the convention center, but I obviously we've been doing this for a long time, and we've had been lucky and had parked at the convention center for many Comic Cons, and the way they were running the traffic out in the streets. I mean, the one light to get make the left onto Harbor in front of the Marriott, I must have gone through at least 10, if not more, light cycles of the going through the red, like green, and yellow and stuff. I mean, it was challenging, and so yeah, we had a slower start in that way, but then once we got in line, things went pretty
Yeah.
well for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. We ended up, I mean, I would say we potentially had the best day we've ever had at Comic Con, or at least the best half a day or something like that. Like, we had a really good run, but you know, and it's just trying to maximize opportunities. But it was a kind of a weird morning until the floor opened, and then when the floor opened at 9:15, so you had won the lottery for Funko, which, you know, just we lucked out on that. Nothing, no skill there. Just put
yeah, not only did
tokens
I
in.
win it, it was the 9:30 slot.
Yeah.
So that was like my first uh, destination, and I almost didn't even try for that time slot because we knew we had some other stuff going on in the morning. But then it was like, well, of course we're going to do it because that's, you know, quite the win and stuff. And so it's like, okay, well, I need to get in that line as quickly and as early as possible to try to get out of line as quickly as possible so we can go on to the other stuff. And uh, and yeah, it ended up not taking me very long at all.
Yeah, we had an appointment at 10:30 and then a few things after that. So basically when we were deciding on the lottery, I mean, our normal rule of thumb is not to try to go for the first slot of the day, because we know so many compete for the first slot of the day, and a lot of times we'll try to go a little deeper even though we know some things will be sold out. In this case, we went for the first slot because there just wasn't going to be a chance to go to any of the other ones. But that said, making our way, even getting there at 8, you got a really good position in the Funko booth. I mean, I was shocked how quick you were done, because basically we split off then, and we'll come back to Funko. You got in the queue. I took off and had a really good run around the floor, just kind of on the swag front. I was like bouncing from booth to booth, and I was trying to post on Twitter. It's one of my, you know, things to try to do on those types of runs, is like people that are on the floor so they know what's going on. I barely missed out on the Clerks poster. They had 100 Clerks 3 posters. Didn't get it. Got another one of the bags, which is a nice bag, but it was just, I was so close. I was about 3 or 4 people off from it. So I think, you know, we'll see if I'm able to do it tomorrow if we do that. Crunchyroll had bags, and they were preloading them with swag, which there's not much in there. There's a couple little, you know, postcard type things and some other cards for various animes and stuff like that. But it was kind of nice that they had the bags like filled with stuff in them. Honestly, it was all stuff that we saw already at Anime Expo, including the bag, but it was still a nice thing to be able to just grab real easily from there. Over at Viz, grabbed one of the little Shonen Jump little sketchbooks there. MetaZoo grabbed the pack of the Wilderness cards from there. The Hasbro booth got the G.I. Joe signing. It was G.I. Joe classified signing that they're doing later in the day, and I ended up not being able to do this because we were too busy at the time that it came. But I was excited to at least get that. IDW, we talked about yesterday, had a lot of great stuff. And again today, more comics. I won't go through all those again. A bunch of different pins, but picked up specifically the Transformer Decepticons pin, which really loved and thought was really cool. Got a 1030 slot for for Hallmark to help somebody out there, which ended up not ending up needing to be used anyway because of things. But the big thing, there's a bunch of other smaller things, and I was trying to share this. You can go back on our we've got Evil Dead poster, bunch of things. I shared it all on Twitter if you want to see it there. But the big thing was made my way over to Comixology booth, and I was kind of keeping an eye on that booth just for the weekend coming into the con because Brian K. Vaughan was going to be signing there as part of Paper Girls. And Paper Girls is coming to Amazon. I believe it's July 29th it debuts. It's a great comic. Really enjoy it. But I've always wanted to get Brian K. Vaughan to sign something. We haven't had any easy shots at it. He hasn't been at, an LA Comic Con or, Phoenix Comic Con or things like that. So it's been a challenging thing. So when I got to the Comixology booth, there was a line wrapped around the booth to get the wristbands for the signing that was going to happen later that day. They had capped it. This was one of those classic Comic-Con situations where the line was capped with security. You had to keep moving. And then the security guard would jump out of the way and bodies would collide getting in line to get the wristband. And it's always the funny kind of irony. So like, well, we got to keep the walkways clear to keep it safe. And what always happens, and this has happened since like our first Comic-Con back in 05. I remember the DC booth, people about killing themselves like for the Gotham chips, casino chips and things like that. But they jump out of the way and like, if you're in the right place at the right time, you can kind of slide in there. And fortunately, I was able to slide barely in there. I was one of the last maybe 10 people to get a wristband, and then was able to come back later to get the Paper Girls pin, which was great. They had the Paper Girls poster tube, which I think is the best poster tube I've ever seen. They made it like an actual rolled up newspaper, which I thought was really fun.
Which, by the way, I really like the size on that one because it's not one of the huge poster tubes, and so you can actually fit it in things and walk around with it.
And the bigger thing was the Paper Girls poster, which they really used the comic version. I mean, it says Prime Video on it, and it was signed by the cast of the girls playing the Paper Girls. And for me, more importantly, Brian K. Vaughan as well as Chang were there to sign it. And so the creators of the book, which again I really love, and so I finally have my Brian K. Vaughan autograph after 15, 20 years of hoping to get it. And so that was awesome. Got some really cool pics, got to say a quick thank you for being there. And that was just that was one of those things, going into Comic-Con, there's always that question. A lot of these lives and podcasts we would do, people would say, oh, what's the thing you're looking most forward to? And my answer is always like, well, the thing that I don't know that's going to happen. And I really didn't think, in fact, I had deleted in my planner, I had various times that they were doing the drawings, but I had figured this just was not going to happen when I looked at her schedule, so I deleted all of them because I basically gave up on it before we got to Comic-Con, but it ended up working out. In that vein, though, Comixology is one of those booths that's really upgraded since the pandemic because now they have also the backing of Amazon money there. So it's a very different feel. Like it feels a bit more of a Hollywood type of a booth there. It's a bigger booth. Obviously, they're bringing in talent from the shows and stuff like that. So I had a really good run there. You were very kind, and we'll get to kind of now Funko next, but you took because we had a media appointment for Crapopolis Offsite, which we've talked about, the new animated show from Dan Harmon. It's going to be on Fox, and we needed to be there by 10:30. And the Paper Girl signing was at 11. So my plan was I was going to run over and see if I could check in early at Fox, get back, and then we had HBO and get back out there. But you, after you finished up Funko, was like, I'll go over there, and we'll talk about that activation in a minute.
Yeah, and since I finished at Funko relatively quickly, as we mentioned, it allowed me to be able to go handle that one. And you were able to do the autograph, and you were trying to tell me for me to go do the autograph. I'm like, that makes no sense. That means so much to you. I would be getting it for you, so you should just do it. But yeah, so as you said, prior to that, I did go into Funko, and I was about, I think, in the third shoot of people in the queue, and so it, it pretty orderly, organized. Funko's been doing these things for years now at this point, and so I I got into line and pretty quickly got moved up toward the actual booth and stuff, and was handed the order form, which was cool. It came with I don't think we
We don't
set it
have it here,
aside.
yeah.
Yeah, but the order form came inside a paper that was themed to the
Funko
Funko
Bill.
Bill and stuff, and I didn't even get a chance to read it because I was so focused on, okay, what am I buying and what's going on and all those things and stuff. And so yeah, that was rather uneventful. It went very smoothly, and I was able to get everything we wanted. Nothing had sold out, and that's the first time that I've won the Funko lottery, and that
Yeah, I've won it once, you won it once, and then we didn't win it once in the other year before that. So, but yeah, picked up a bunch of stuff there. People, as you're getting out of line, like, did you buy one of everything? I was like, no, we didn't buy one of everything, but we did buy quite a few things. Got some of the sodas. I was excited, particularly for the Larfleas, which I'm not the biggest of the Funko soda fans. I think they're cool, but Larfleas, there's not enough merchandise with him. I have my Larfleas Orange Lantern hat. I love. You got the Scarlet Scarab from the recent Moon Knight. I think my favorite of what you got is probably He Who Remains, just because I loved that character so much in the Loki streaming show, and I'm so excited to see what Majors does with the role of Kang and that whole mythology. And Ted Lasso, excited to see that one show up, and a bunch of others. I mean, we got Chrysanthemum, the flocked version, which I'm a huge Chrysanthemum fan. If you followed our stuff, you know that Queen Historia from Attack on Titan mixed in there. Inmu from Demon Slayer. That seems to be the one that's like most popular with people. I was shocked how much people have been going after that one. The toucans were a must. The toucans are like the number one Funko to not be, very much valuable for trade or anything else after Comic Con from what we've seen. But for you and I, we definitely need them and are glad. I remember in 2019, like trading a Black Series figure for it, and I think now it's worth like $5 or something like that. But we love our toucan. We love our Comic Con. Got a Miss Minutes, the big mega size Miss Minutes. Love her. Love the Loki show. So got a bunch of stuff. I think the Freddy Funko mask, which I know some people are really turned off by, say it's super creepy, and maybe that's why I like it. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, I gotta have that. Like, it's such a kooky, strange, funny, absurd thing. It's this giant, oversized Freddy Funko head with a crown and stuff. So got that. So you had a really successful run through Funko. I had a really successful run on just freebies. Like, I didn't spend a penny. And that's kind of over the years how we've kind of done the mornings more than not, is you'll go for exclusives that we're looking for, whatever that may be, getting in line, lotteries or whatever. And a lot of times I run around trying to get the free stuff. And so it worked out really well. And it was a great run there. Now you did head over to Crapopolis, which was a fairly simple off-site there. I think everybody that's followed Comic-Con has seen the big slide. So the big slide was there. Anything much else to say about it outside of the slide, or?
No, I mean it was a 70-foot tall, 40-foot
40
tall,
foot tall, yeah.
70-foot length slide, and it's the kind of, you sit on a little fabric thing and go down a slide. It's a slide.
There it is.
And yeah, I went ahead and did the slide, so we have video of that. I hesitated because I basically did that. I did the walk from basically Funko, which is in the complete opposite catty corner part of the convention center from where Crapopolis was, and stopped at the car to drop off the stuff, and then went there. And it was a very warm day again today,
Yeah.
and then so I got there, and then I saw the stairs that I had to go up to climb to the top. I'm like, when I was going over there, I'm like, I'll just do the slide. And then I got there, I'm like, I don't know that I really want to do the stairs now. And so instead, their marketing people walked me around and gave me a tour first, and then I came back into the slide. So basically, it's the slide that everybody can see, and then 2 photo ops, and there's a QR code that you can scan to enter to win a trip to Greece, which they said is also available just on the regular website. And then on the way out, I got a button. So it was fun, but I'm really glad that you did the autograph signing instead of the offsite because it was fun but very basic and stuff, and it was pretty much what we saw. There wasn't like any surprises or anything like that. I guess the button was kind of a surprise because I didn't know that there was any swag. But yeah, I'm really glad you took the opportunity to get your
Yeah,
autographs
and
and stuff.
I really appreciated that because I mean that will definitely be one of my favorite memories of the convention, if not the top one, and it'll definitely be a contender for the year because it's just one of those unexpected, fun, amazing things. One of the things I told our friend, we were with Jamie tonight, grabbed dinner with her and her pup Ernie, and we were talking about like the idea. So at Comic Con, these strange things happen, and so as I was trying to get in line, and I was like timing it to be able to get into the line to get the signing with the wristband as security would barely open up the door, the ability to do so. Right in there with me though was this guy who just wandered in, like he had no interest in it, and all of a sudden he's like in front of me in line just because he kind of got sandwiched between people as they opened the line up, and he's like, so what are we in the line for? And it's like, oh, for Paper Girls. It's a great comic. It's becoming a series on Amazon. It comes out. Oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe I'll stick around and do it. But you have like zero interest, and it's this thing that like I've been chasing for all these years or whatever. Brian came on. Then, oddly enough, when I came back to line up, because the signing itself was an hour later or whatever, and I get in line to sign to now go get the signature, he ends up being right in front of me in line again, just total happenstance. And he's like, yeah, so this is a show, yeah. So like it was just real quick, but he's like, yeah, he's like, okay, I think I'm gonna stay around. And he's taking pictures and stuff, and he walked away from the experience with the exact same thing as me. But there's a lot of people that would really love sometimes to do these things and aren't able to get into them. And then there's also that just dumb luck that happens where you have this magical moment or this magical experience.
And who knows, maybe it'll end up being his
Yeah.
favorite series that
Yeah.
he may not have even tried, but
Yeah.
then he'll see it and be like, well, I got the autographs, I
Yeah.
have a poster, maybe I'll check out the show,
Yeah.
and he
Totally.
may love it. So who knows?
So once I finished that up, I head across the street to you. You waited over there for me by HBO for the House of the Dragon. We've been covering that activation, the build of it from the second the trucks came. I was there literally when the trucks came in with the generators, and that was it at that time. It was like, this looks like this is going to be a pretty big thing. I could have never imagined the amount of detail and the type of like interactive theater they were going to ultimately end up producing. Now, one thing at Comic Con, just in general today, it seems like many of these offsites had a lot of trouble. We heard issues at Dungeons and Dragons. We heard issues about Severance, Gray Man, HBO with House of the Dragon. A lot of capacity issues, a lot of concerns of overbooking, understaffing, cutting experiences down, etc. And I do think one of the things is as you see more of these really over the top interactive theater type experiences, that is going to happen because we see that in like the haunt world all the time. But those are also people that are like doing it all the time, and they're people that maybe run it multiple weekends and they work out kinks. And here it's like they open up Thursday. I mean, for these ones, they did Wednesday night, a lot of them for media previews, and then Thursday they opened up for the public. And then all of a sudden they're there and they're trying to run things, and there's challenges. And so I know there was a lot of challenges. We heard from our friend Manny about just like they cut the Dungeons and Dragons one down from like what's supposed to be a 15-minute thing to an 8-minute, and those are unfortunate things, and there's no way to know when that's going to happen. We were fortunate, so we had a media appointment for House of the Dragon with HBO. They put us with, we were with a regular group, so it wasn't like a media tour. So thankfully, that one seemed at least to get like full experiences, at least during the time we were there, because we got a full experience, and we were the only two media mixed in with the group. A lot of actors, a lot of improv theater. You were part of helping to set up on a date like one of the local townspeople with one of the knights, and just fun stuff. There was a maiden asking you for advice on like how to get married or how to get hitched or whatever the terminology you use. I mean, a lot of fun theatrical moments of just interacting with the characters, but also like the detail. Like when we went inside, well, one, it was nice there was air conditioning, but two, we went inside and we had a guide that led us in to see like the giant, jaws of a dragon, and we held our own dragon eggs to see if we were, fortunate enough. And so we have full video of all of that, including our time on the throne and
You
photos.
did that live.
I did that live, yeah. So that's up on the YouTube channel. You can find it on our playlist there. Highly suggest checking that out if you're not able to do it in person, because it's a lot of fun. It ended, well, there's an app component that you get like a digital, basically Tamagotchi type idea. You have your own baby dragon that you digitally can take around. The thing that I was more interested in is we got pins, and I mean, not the, biggest deal of swag, but I just think it's kind of a nice little remembrance of it. But I mean, in the end, the really amazing thing was just the experience of interacting with these characters in a setting that really looked incredibly professional and like permanent, even though it's only going to be there for a few days.
Yeah, I really loved that the basically while we were waiting to go inside, our group was in that grassy area right outside the doors and stuff, and that's where it was kind of the I guess marketplace sort of thing, and so we were interacting with the actors and stuff, and we were all setting the mood for what we were experiencing, and several of them. I mean, the actors. I don't think we have any idea of what company
I don't know what company it
did
is.
them,
Yeah.
but well, the other day James took video of before they opened. They were training the actors out there like with their sword play and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if at some points they even do shows or something out there, but the actors were very impressive and stuff. And again, improv is not an easy task, and
Mm-mm.
so they were incredible. And so I really appreciated that we had this pre-show experience where we're interacting with them, and basically several of them were willing to barter their merchandise for an egg. If we were able to get an egg, they would trade with you, or you need a coin, but we didn't have coins, so it was just a whole fun thing and
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, it was so well built and such a really cool experience. And basically there they were doing groups of 12, and I didn't think to time how long it was between groups, but and I'm not sure if
It
they
seemed about like 10 minutes or so.
it was a decent amount of time because
Yeah.
we were spent quite a bit of time in that front pre-show section of it, and I think they basically waited until the group got all the way through the
Yeah,
experience,
maybe.
or maybe a good chunk. It was at it. I didn't wasn't sure of the timing, but it wasn't the fastest experience. But it was at least 12 people at a time, and there was a pre-show and stuff. So um, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like I didn't see anything about people. There's HBO drops zones or
Yeah.
whatever, and I didn't really see anybody having success with that. I
Yeah,
saw
I know.
people. I mean, some. I feel like a couple people asked us like how we were in the VIP line and stuff, and we're like, well, we're press, and they were like, how do we get in that line? And I didn't see anybody actually doing anything with the, or I saw the drop zone, but I didn't really see anything, anyone
Right.
having
Well, they would
success
show
with
up
it.
there, and I mean, there's one in this floor too. But yeah, it's kind of weird because leading into it, people are like, "What's the drop zones gonna look like?" And when we thought they were supposed to be surprises, is what they intimated. And I guess they are, of like if they're not staffed, and then when they're staffed, it's a surprise. But it's not like a street team popping up in different parts of the gas lamp. It's like they're just right there. And so, but it was a long wait. I mean, people spent a long time. I didn't see anybody spending 10 hours like in the old Game of Thrones days, but it was a long time. And again, a pretty hot and humid day, all things considered, in San Diego. So all of these different lines, I mean, people are making big commitments of time, and it's one of the things you and I always talk about is that kind of fan experience side, because as much as we appreciate being able to go in, we can make an immediate appointment and stuff like that. We know that at the end of the day, 99% of people have to decide, like, is this worth 3 hours? Is it worth 4 hours and stuff? So it was a great experience. I'm not sure what the time allocation is. It probably also depends like how much somebody's into Game of Thrones also. But I know, being somebody who likes Game of Thrones and we watched the series and enjoyed it, it was really great and fun and all of that. But it could have been or it was a big time commitment. So
Yeah, and it was actually kind of cool at the end, photo op where you're basically go up on the throne and have your photo taken and stuff. Um, I think we were kind of at the back of our group at
we were
that
the
point,
last in the group. Yeah.
and so we were interacting with one of the actresses for a decent amount of time while the people in front of us, all took their pictures and stuff. And then she said that I needed to have a special experience, and so she called one of
A night
the
over.
guards over, and um, and basically had him escort me up to the throne, which was actually very awkward and uncomfortable because the way he put his arm out, I couldn't figure out where I was supposed to put my hand or hold on to him. So I was very confused about that process. And so we were kind of laughing. He was kind of laughing at me because I was so awkward about the whole thing and stuff. But it was very fun. And then Well, I went up there, then you were escorted up by the actress, and I think
Hmm.
she had some comment for
Yeah,
you.
she said that you weren't going to be the only one to get special treatment, so we linked arms as well and went up there. So but yeah,
So
it
yeah,
was
it
a
was
good
very
time.
cool.
Good time. From there, then we bounced across. So we had a debate 'cause we knew the Dungeons and Dragons panel was going to be starting in Hall H at noon. Now I had not computed in my head. I knew it was the first panel in Hall H on Thursday, but I never coming into the weekend had really put together in my head like, wait, it's the first panel since the last Comic Con in Hall H, and so like this is a big deal in a different way, like kind of a historical significance to it. So for us, it was more like, do we want to see the Dungeons and Dragons panel? And we almost sat down and just skipped it because I was just so dead tired. But we're like, let's just push through. Let's get over to Hall H. It's not packed to the brim yet, and it didn't fill up. There was seats the whole time, but it got pretty full. I'd say about 5,000 of the seats maybe seemed like full, maybe not that much, but it was definitely a pretty full room in general. We got there, we were kind of to the back of things and stuff. But then Eddie Ibrahim, who is in charge of all the programming and always introduces the Hall H panels, he came out and he's like welcoming everybody back to Comic Con Hall H for the first time in 3 years. And then it hit me. It's like, wow, this is like a really cool thing aside from Dungeons and Dragons that we're back here. And so there was kind of this cathartic moment that a lot of people kind of were taking that big, breath and with him and kind of celebrating that being back. And then Paramount, brings out the Dungeons and Dragons. So they had the directors, producer, and then the cast came out, and Chris Pine came out and put on like a real show, kind of Elvis style, like kicking and punching the air and stuff. And it was very much like, hey, we're back at Comic Con, we're back in Hall H. So that was like an awesome feeling, and I'm so glad. Like I would have really regretted sitting that panel out if like later it would have hit me like, hey, wait, that was like kind of a cool little historical thing we could have been a part of, and we missed it just because I wanted to take a break or whatever. But in addition to that, it was a fun panel. Hugh Grant, it was his first time at Comic Con. He was incredibly funny. It had a little bit of that Harrison Ford, first time at Comic Con vibe, where it's like, I think you had said it's like, what am I doing here? But also like having fun with it.
Yeah, he was just kind of, I think he just had like no like idea what he was actually at or anything like that. He just seemed very like, I'm here, but he seemed also a little distant in some ways. Or, but he all his responses were very amusing, and some, if not all, were fairly adult in
Yeah,
response. I mean, they weren't like
everything was kind
explicit,
of,
but
yeah,
there was,
innuendo.
yeah, definitely, if not just flat out,
Yeah,
whatever. But it was, yeah, very enjoyable, lots of laughs. I think I literally laughed out loud several times during the
yeah.
panel, which was
Yeah.
nice.
Several people commented on social that Hugh Grant is like their new favorite person in Hall H because it was just so funny. But there was a lot of, talk of S&M and D&D and all sorts of things. So we did put a few videos up on the YouTube channel. The whole group was great. The trailer looked really fun. It's kind of what I thought it was going to be, which is at least in the trailer. And then they also showed us a clip there, and they showed us a little behind the scenes. So there's actually 3 things that they gave us there. But it just feels like it is a fun action romp that has a lot of comedic elements to it. And so,
Well, when they asked Hugh Grant kind of what he thought or how he ended up on the show, and he said, "Well, I saw, the scripts or whatever, and it had a Monty Python feel
yeah.
to it and stuff, so he kind of liked that and stuff." So,
And he said he's very critical of scripts, and he's notorious for being very negative when he gets scripts. And this one actually made him laugh, and he felt very positive about it. So that's why he took the movie, even though it was such a different thing than, as he had mentioned, like Sense and Sensibility or something of
he
that
brought that
nature.
up various times, and I thought it was kind of cool and interesting that he seemed to be the only one up on stage who like wasn't like actively super familiar with D&D and stuff. And I've never played before. I according to Chris Pine, everybody should play it, and it's like school should teach it and stuff
It's
because
the imagination.
yeah, and I've never done that before, played that before, so I don't know how it works necessarily or anything. I mean, I've seen it on TV and stuff, but I thought it was cool that the rest of the panelists all seemed very familiar with it, and I think Chris Pine though said that he only recently became familiar with it, and but he has a nephew. I think he said that was
Mm-hmm.
has been really into it and stuff, and so when he got this package about from the movie and stuff, he like had his nephew come over and they opened it together, and then it became like this whole family thing, and like all his family is now into it and stuff. And so he said that he regrets that it wasn't until he was 42 to have that experience or whatever. And so, but yeah, it was just, they all seemed to have like great camaraderie, and there was lots of laughs. And Michelle Rodriguez,
Yeah, she was having a good time.
yeah, she seemed almost as like the most comfortable up there. She was just like spewing all sorts of stuff and giving Grant a hard time, or Hugh Grant a hard time and stuff. And it was just fun panel. It was really enjoyable.
She said no one from New Jersey, no one leaves New Jersey without having played a lot of D&D, and I'm like, I've never heard that before, but that was one of the comments she made, as a very matter of fact thing. So it was a good panel. It was a good time. I was glad we were in there. We did not stay for the Teen Wolf followed that. Then Motu, Masters of the Universe 30th anniversary. We saw that Shatner had busted in on that panel, or was part of that panel as a surprise, because he's coming to the next season of the Netflix Masters of the Universe animated series. So that seems like it would have been a cool thing. And I told you, I was like, I think they're going to announce something. They wouldn't put Masters of the Universe in Hall H unless they were going to do something big. And that makes sense that that's what they did. But we didn't make our way back there because we did a lot of floor time, a lot of wandering. We know we're going to be pretty short on floor time in general the next few days. So we tried to get in, and I think we knocked out maybe 20 rows or somewhere. I've got it listed in my phone, but we did a lot of like the 1700 to like 900 area and stuff. Some of the big booths, but more of the smaller kind of comic booths and things like that. Didn't pick up a lot on that. Maybe we got some pins. There was a Sergeant Slaughter pin at Entertainment Earth that they were giving out, and then they're doing a different geek out of the Spot type character, the dog from Target, that they're giving out each day. So we did pick up those. I did make my way over to Scott Snyder's booth for a signing with him and Greg Capullo, who I'm fans of both of theirs. We've gone to several of their panels over the years, read his Batman stuff, all of that. But last year we joined the founders tier to Scott Snyder's Substack. So that's the only Substack we're part of. Join the founders tier because there's a number of exclusive variants that are coming through that. And just as he had said when he was asking people to sign up, he's like, you could sell these for more than what the cost of membership was. Plus you'll get front of the line anywhere I'm signing. And so the combination, oh, and the other thing was a San Diego Comic-Con dinner that he'd take you out to dinner. It was like all those pieces. So he ended up buying into that last year, which was like $300. And it's like, well, this will easily be like $1,000 worth of stuff. So it's just an easy investment type thing. Unfortunately, the dinner is tomorrow night, and I have two other conflicts. We'll be at Funko Fun Days, and there's a Walking Dead thing covering as well, so I'm not able to go to the dinner, but was able to walk right to the front of the line, and that was a good feeling. Like, there's this long line, and actually the guy that was at the front of the line for the non-founders tier people, which of that people there was like two of us, me and one other person, but he's like, so did you win something? And I was like, no. I explained what the founders tier was, and he's like, wow, I just spent $90 on these 3 autographs I'm going to do, because basically Capullo and Snyder were charging whatever the math is between the two of them. And so he's like, you did all this for 300? And I was like, I guess, yeah. So got the Court of Owls mask signed by both Capullo and Snyder. And then a bunch of books signed. Got Wake #1 by Snyder, and Undiscovered Country #1, and We Have Demons #1, all signed by Snyder, and then a bunch of Batman New 52 stuff of Snyder and Capullo signed. When Snyder first got there, Capullo was there for a while before, but when Snyder first got there, and I said, do I like show you the email? And he's like, yeah, you're good. He's like, so everything's free. I'll sign as many things as you want. You can, bring a short box of comics and I'll sign them all. And he's like, and then just Greg will charge whatever Greg charges. And I was like, okay, so because then I was just going to skip Capullo, not because I don't like him, but it's like, I've got him to sign stuff before, but Capullo just signed everything too. And they just kind of were chatting with me like we were talking about Phoenix Comic Con and stuff. So it was a really good experience. And it was nice because we haven't gotten any of the variants in the mail yet. So we've really gotten nothing out of the Scott Snyder Substack thing. We're not going to get dinner tomorrow night. So this was like finally something out of it. And I was like, okay, this worked really well. So that was a nice stop to be able to just cruise to the front of the line of a Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder signing. And so that was cool. And then some of the more vintagey booths, we did pick up a Black Knight 7-Eleven Slurpee cup. That was $15, which is I think $5 more than I really wanted to pay, but it is Comic-Con and the booths are expensive. And I love Dane Whitman Black Knight. even though the portrayal in the Eternals was not necessarily the best. Picked up a couple comics. Fantastic Four, number 134. Cover there for those that are watching on video. Tales to Astonish, number 85. I think we're going to hear about Submariner soon, and I think we're not going to be able to afford anything with him in it for a while. Daredevil, number 82. I love the cover. It has the Scorpion and Daredevil duking it out there. So that was $25 of comics over those couple books there. We saw our good friend over at booth D05. They're over by Blizzard, kind of in that general area. If you're at Comic-Con, check him out. Our friend Steve runs a really great toy booth wherever we see him at. Always has great booths, great selection of stuff, particularly in the Joes and Transformer side of things, but always great stuff, but also really good prices, really friendly, knows his stuff, and he very, very kindly gifted us a 1987 Astro Viper G.I. Joe Real American Hero figure, which is so incredible that just a really kind gift there. So was so excited to get that. So not very often that we pick up really anything in the vintage toy or comic realm at Comic-Con, just because the prices are usually really off the charts there, because the booths are expensive. But that was really nice to get. We talked to our friend Jimmy over at the J Brothers booth. They've got Amazing Las Vegas coming up. They said they're doing well. We heard that from a lot of the vendors. I don't know about the big, I'm sure Netflix is doing well and all that. But from the smaller vendors, comic dealers, toy dealers, heard a lot of them say they're doing really well. So it sounds like people are showing up to Comic-Con ready to spend some money. So I think that kind of wraps up then our Thursday then. So we went to dinner with our friend Jamie, had a great time there. It was nice. We saw the fandom party. We didn't really necessarily want to do the fandom party this year. We've done that before. It's a beautiful view. It's an awesome, nice party, but it's very loud for me, and it's kind of late for me. And so all the way around, as we saw the big line of people dressed up for the party, I just kept thinking, I'm so glad we're not at that, because it's just so much time or so much more for me. So yeah, that was kind of, it was one of those things of like addition by subtraction. As we were there and saw the line, I was like, oh, I'm really glad we did that. Got a quick comment there from, was it Bubba Fett 73? Thanks for doing the tour of the Spidey exhibit. Got me to comics. Oops, we lost the chat again there. Sorry, we're pulling it back. That would get me Spidey comics at the drugstore, and would have loved to see that. Oh, that is awesome to hear. The drugstore, 7-Eleven, Circle K's, that's all where comics came for me as well, too. I have very fond memories of going to the Thrifties of the world and stuff and getting comic books off spinner racks and things like that. So glad you enjoyed that exhibit. And in that vein, I want to say there's about 37 or so videos on the YouTube channel now. So please check those out. There's Mego action figures, Jurassic World Dominion diorama, HasLab Galactus from the Hasbro booth. A bunch of different videos from panels are starting to go up. So we don't put every single one on social media, just because we put a lot on social media as it is. And so you can always find those on the playlist there. And that we're getting up to almost 40 videos already, and we still got 3 days of Comic-Con left. So this is going to be a very robust
that this
playlist.
is the first full day, and we've done so much, and obviously preview night and stuff. And just as a, I don't know, heads up, we Comic-Con does not allow their panels to be live streamed at all.
Yeah, good point.
And also they don't allow more than, I think it's 15 minutes of video to be recorded at all.
And those are both under threat of being banned. So we have no interest in ever being banned. So yeah, if you wonder why, like, well, they do lives of all these activations, like we always have to ask for permission first off. But Comic-Con's very clear that that's just not allowed at all.
Yeah, so unfortunately you won't be seeing full panels from us. I mean, maybe they're out there, but they won't be from us, unfortunately.
Yeah. So with that, we thank you, those that tuned in live. Thank you. We're surprised anybody tuned in live. It's late here on Thursday night. We know a lot of people are tired. I know we're tired, but we do appreciate you being here. Whoever is listening to this podcast or watching it, wherever you are, we thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying our Comic-Con coverage. We're going to keep on pushing, and hopefully we'll have a lot more stuff to share in the days ahead. We do appreciate all the support. It always feels like people are particularly nice and supportive when Comic-Con season comes, and so we do appreciate you all so much. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up here. Until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.
Good night.